All right, it's that time of year again. Canjam, New York City, 2024. Let's just get right into it. Gonna go booth to booth and give you guys the grand tour. So starting off with Mimic Audio, they started strong. They had the Mass Kobo 465 on their table. It is a gorgeous amp. I'll be honest with you though, it was really tough to hear the difference in the magic that it makes. A lot of people love this amp. I couldn't hear from just the loudness going on around me, so I would love to have this in my own house and just see how much of a difference it makes. But we also have to talk about this, the Mod House Tungsten. It is the it headphone right now. There's a single and dual magnet version. Some say it approaches the level of dynamics and impact of something like an Abyss, while having similar characteristics to a Susvara in that if you feed it tons of power, you get amazing results. I love just the expansive sound stage and impact and slam that it had. It starts at $1,500, always sold out, so if you're able to get your hands on one, congrats to you. They also had this amp from Black Ice Audio. I wasn't too familiar with them. They're based in Maryland, but it did sound good, and I love the look and feel of the amp as well. Here's a Gustard stack. Didn't get a chance to listen to that, but if you look, you can see in Enlium, the mobile version. It's kind of sandwiched between some equipment there. Next, go over to Shit Audio. They had a nice booth with the Valley stack and also a Lear stack, the Midgarden Bifrost. And you know the brand, they produce really amazing quality for not a lot of money. So they did sound excellent. I loved my time with each one. And of course, we have to talk about the new amp on the block, the Mjolnir 3. That is a monster amp, and look at the price. $1,200 gets you this gorgeous amp. But there are some conflicting reviews on it. Some people say it's okay. Some people love it. I ran into the same issue as I did with the Mass Kobo 465 at the table before, which was it was loud and I didn't really hear the magic from the M3. Oh, and I want to talk about this. This is my first time listening to a DCA E3. It's a closed back version and it sounds phenomenal. It kind of reminds me of the Meza house sound, if you could believe it. It's the top end was just delicate and smooth while still being everything else just was super clear. Didn't really call attention to itself. It was just a nice, fun, easy listen. If I ever did get a closed back, I would probably get an E3. And then right next to it was the Expanse. You know, that's a popular headphone as well. Personally, it's not for me. It is a very neutral headphone. I like a bit more flavor, but it's still very popular. So maybe right up your alley if you're looking for some neutrality in your system. And you never forget your first. This is the Manly Absolute. This is my first tube amp experience listening to it at Canjam. Was it 2017, 2020? I forget. But I loved the sound that I heard from it. It's an odd looking amp. It's a statement piece. Manly is known for like some cool designs. And the controls are kind of odd. But if you're into like some high-end tube audio, I think it's always worth a listen. Thank you, Cobuzz, for bringing that along. Next, going to the head table. And look, they have the new headphone too. I'm going to pause it right here. Do you see the difference here between the small version, which is, the head 2, and the head 1 on the left? I tried it on. It is notably lighter, more comfortable. The sound is different though. The jury is still out whether or not I personally like it. They did have some interesting new strap system or headband system. It was mated to a benchmark stack, as revealing as ever. They also had some other killer amps. They had the DCS Lena stack and also a Phonitor XE. Now we'll go to the topping table. They had the D90, A90 stack, or is it the second iteration of each? I haven't heard those yet, just the first. Very revealing lineup. And the next, let's talk about this. I didn't get a chance to hear this. There was a line for it or just always someone sitting at the station there, but this looks amazing. And it's their flagship DAC amp stack. So I would love to hear this at some point. If you did, give a shout in the comments. Let us know what you think. Going down the topping table, they had an all-in-one unit. They carved out the top so you could see inside. Really cool presentation. I didn't get a chance to hear this either, but it was a cool statement piece nonetheless. Now we'll go to some other Chinese brands. We have X Duo, Truth Ear, SMSL. You know, they had their line of tube offerings. You know, if you're just starting out and you're looking at it like a mid-5 budget, you can't lose with either of these options. We hear a lot of good chatter online about them. They had some CD transports there. And here's their flagship VMV stack, an R2R DAC and an amp. And if you want a more inexpensive option, here's their triple stack over here on the left. Now we'll do a 180 and head over to the raw booth directly right behind us, and this is where I screwed up. I'm an idiot. I didn't do my reading beforehand. I assumed they had the same exact ear-field speakers that they always have, but they actually had 2 new products this year I completely passed up on, but they're called the Magna and the Imanis, the Imanis being the more premium of the 2 headphones. They look amazing. I wish I heard them, so if you're able to demo them, please take the opportunity. Don't be like me. Then we'll go over to some IEM booths, and I'll be honest with you, I am not an IEM person, so I'll leave that up to the other reviewers and people who want to make some assessments out there. This is a cool looking stack. I'm not familiar with this model, but it looks great. Put your DAP right on top of it right there. More IEMs, more Canjam sales, those are always nice. And then we'll hit the LTA booth, the linear tube audio brand. They have some really interesting products. They use a ZOTL technology. I guess it keeps your OTL tubes low wattage. You got to use your tubes for longer versus just vanilla OTL. But look at all the headphones they offer. This is always a crowd pleaser at a booth. So if you do run one of these booths, something to get people in the seats would be to just have a huge array of headphones for people to test. And then next, the Mass Kobo booth itself. Look, they had a Final from Japan, they had a Susvara, and they also had this Lalic Tone brand. I never heard of it before. I did some research on it. It's a Japanese brand, and it is a cool looking headphone. It's not out yet. It's only about $1,300. It has a 50mm dynamic driver inside. I didn't really think about it until I saw the video. Curious how that sounds. More Mass Kobo equipment on the table, and look, the legend himself. How badass is it to have yourself on the placard behind you while you're right in front of it? So that was a cool booth. And then next was the Dana Cable. Yeah, the Dana Cable booth. They had some cool headphones there. Look, it was mated to a Headspace amp from Dynatone. Each build is a custom build, and the amp manufacturer will ask, the sound profile or preference that you prefer. If you want more tubey or warm sound, you just tell that to them, and they will tune it to your preferences. Pretty sweet. And then we'll head to the Focal booth. The new Utopia, or newish Utopia, I think there was a refresh in 2020. Heard that on this DAC amp all-in-one. And they had a really cool volume system on top. And here's one critique of the Focal booth. I really wish there would be more tube amp options. I heard Utopia's Sing on a tube amp. Maybe it would just be another thing for Focal to show off the capabilities there. Then Upscale Audio, based in SoCal. Really cool brand, really nice folks. I love chatting with the people behind the booth. Another shot of the Manly Absolute. This is my favorite color. But look at this, the 2 new headphones from Meza. They have the Lyric 2, and they also have the MP2, or the Empyrean 2. The Lyric 2, it has more clarity than the previous iteration, but it's still, it's a closed back. It's not as expansive as other closed backs that I've heard. But it's meant for portable use, and it still has that Meza house sound, which I love. And next, the Empyrean 2. I'm a huge fan of the OG Empyrean. In fact, it's my daily driver. It's just comfortable, and I love the bloomy, mid-range, mid-bass sound that it produces. A lot of people don't like it. I do. So the new one is very neutral. It is an evolution of the sound. It depends. If you like more neutrality than you do more flavor, then it might be right up your alley. I know a lot of reviewers just go gaga over it. I was talking with several people there. They prefer the OG Empyrean due to that flavor that I mentioned. And I'm in that camp. I really wish they kept that around versus discontinuing it, making it just another offering on their website. And look, how often do you get to listen to a Prima Luna amp? Next, over to the chord table, and just tested the headphones with the Hugo 2. And I do have to give my first Best of Show award for most budget-friendly item, and this is the Meza 109s. This is my first time hearing it, so forgive me for the timeline. You probably already heard it. For the money, it sounded dynamic, it sounded big, it sounded rich, and the treble was slightly rounded, which I always appreciate. Again, it's that patented Meza house sound. They're always non-fatiguing in that regard. But I love this. I really wanted to listen to this on a tube amp. I still had a great time with it on the Hugo 2, which tells me it doesn't need a ton of power, but it's on my list for things to own in the new year.
Love it. Yeah, this model has a Swiss clock built into the head. If you look through the eyes, you can tell the time.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
All in one.
Thank you. Yeah,
Real machine, the trivial.
Machining and assembly is done like
Again, comes out of a block of aluminum.
But the long and the short is, yes, it's super expensive, but yes, it does sound really good too. Okay, we go over to TNA, and yes, it still sounds great. Just that crisp, dynamic, impactful sound from this stack. Look at the price though. But if you're lucky enough to own this, it is a great combination. And we'll go over to the Sennheiser booth. They do have a new wireless offering, the new Sennheiser Ascentum. There's the Ascentum Vanilla and Ascentum Plus. They're meant to supplement the Momentum 4s just at a more inexpensive price. I didn't get a chance to listen to it. There were too many people and it took too long, so I just moved along. In the same aisle on the other side is the headphones.com booth. They just have a huge array, different brands. Look at this Envy 25th anniversary. They have the Violectric sitting there. This is the V90. Look at that, a WA23, a Zoll HM1, the Ferrum stack right next to it. And look at this. This probably wins my award for the best looking solid state amp there, the Warwick Acoustics Aperio. This is just gorgeous. I could just sit there looking at it for a while. But thankfully, it sounded as good as it looks. It sounded amazing. I love my time with it. Look at right next to it is the new Wanla, the Ferrum Wanla, and this is the Golden Sound edition. I did talk to him for a bit while I was there. Golden Sound is super nice. And look, here are the new features, the Impact Plus tube mode, and some other cool things here. I wasn't able to hear the difference. Again, it was a louder environment there in the open booth area. Knowing his prowess with DAX and his knowledge there, I'm sure these could all be very good value adds for the existing Wanla. Right next to headphones.com is the Odyssey booth. Odyssey is always a pleasure to go to as well, just for the array of equipment they have there. Here's the new Burson Voyager. To me, it sounded very similar to the Burson 3 GT before it, but if you're interested in this, watch Passion for Sound's review. It's excellent, and he goes through all the differences. But I like the sound. It's just on brand for Burson in their sound signature. Look, there's CRBN, Electrostat, made it to an LTA, linear tube audio amp, and also a DCS DAC. Super revealing with some tubey qualities. That's always a fun combination. And this is new, and a lot of people had their eyes on this, the Audio-Technica AWK-G. And what I will say about this, Audio-Technica, I don't know why I love the brand, but then I'll listen to their headphones and I'll be like, oh, I was expecting something else. I had that same experience here. I wish they had a tube amp here. Apparently these sound much better with a tube amp. People were testing out that high-priced, I can't even pronounce the name, Narakumi amp upstairs in the private room. And apparently it sings really well with these headphones. So I wish they had a more of an array of headphone amps here. Spirit Torino, they had a stronger showing last year just because the setup was different. Still that same high energy, high octane sound that we're used to. Oh, and here's new, the Drop Plus Grell headphone. So this is a controversial headphone. Some people just flat out say they don't like the tuning. Some people say it's fine, it sounds great. I thought it sounded fine, even with this the smaller Earman amp. But yeah, I think Alex Grell's reputation precedes him, so people were expecting something like the HD800S, but this is a fraction of the price. I think it's like $500. Right next to that booth was Deconi Audio. I haven't used their pads personally. I know a lot of people swear by them, and I wanted to rush over to this booth, the Lake People booth, because look, they had all the Violectric beasts there. They even had the V281 reissue, which is amazing. I'm so glad they decided to reissue that. Meza, hope you take a cue there with the OG Empyrean. And also the V200 options, and I have the V222 currently, and I'll be doing a review on that compared to some other amps soon, so stay tuned for that. Got some IEMs next, passing by there. Oh, along with, look at that, they have a Nimbus amp on their table. Here's my buddy Turco. He works over at Audio 46. Really cool people that work there, and they're really close to the Canjam space. Ooh, and what's that? Some Enliums. And next we go over to the final booth. They had a D8000 paired up with the Felix Euphoria Evo, the new version. I kind of miss the design language of the old version, but it is what it is. And of course they have their well-known IEMs as well. And then here's the Meza table. And before I get to that, ooh, look who it is. Got Zeos in the house, and this is the beauty of staying around for Canjam until the later hours of Sunday evening. There's more seats available, so that's a pro tip for you. We had the iFi table with their new stack here. If you have, please shout it in the comments and let me know what you thought. And then we go over to the Hi-Fi Man table, and look, they're releasing some DAC amp stacks. I only got a chance to listen to the one all the way on the right. It sounded great for what it is, and for the price especially. These things are very inexpensive compared to the competition. So keep these on your radar too. Then behind that is the Benchmark table. Benchmark is cool. It's always super revealing, but it's also super expensive. Then we'll go to Un. They have a new headphone there. It wins my award for the most comfortable over-the-ear headphone I've tested at Canjam, or at least in a while. It was super comfortable. It was super lightweight. It had like a mellow tuning. It wasn't really as dynamic as I wanted it to be. But it is, I think, their first headphone. And look, I thought this was funny. See how small that driver is on the poster in the back? It almost looks like the guy lost it and he's looking for it. I did not get a chance to listen to that. And here's a creative booth, famous with their PC sound cards. But look, they have a DAC amp system there. Then we go to the Ferrum table. They almost didn't need their own table because I felt like we saw their amps elsewhere on other booths. But I'm glad they were there and they had a strong showing. All right, now let's make our way to the side rooms, which are dedicated spaces to the brands. And they had the same things that they did last year. It's just now they had a dedicated space. I will say, I wish they made better use of the space because, look, they have some unused real estate here, and they only have a couple of items to listen to. Either way, like, their equipment still sounds amazing. It sounds fabulous. There's a very slim chance you will not like the sound these produce. These are monster amps, and they create impeccable, rich, fun, engaging sound. And next, we'll go to the ZMF headphone booth. This is probably the best headphone booth on a consistent basis because they kill it every year. And just everything you see on the shelf, you see the little orange stickers on the items, you can buy those. And it's usually at a discounted price at Canjam. So that's always nice. And look at the finishes. Very custom, very cool. Here's an open back Atrium with the new Lord Gwyn amp. The collab with ZMF, and look how gorgeous it is. Look, you got the cool wooden volume knob and just gorgeous finishing on the casing with the VU meters, and of course the sound. The sound was impeccable. It sounded great. I tried a huge array, the Atrium, some Calderas, both open and closed, Verite as well. Really love the sound that was being output here, and it's a fraction of the price compared to all the super flagship tube amps that I was looking at earlier. So that's a huge upsell. This is called the Homage. It's a full solid state amp. This one looks like it's about $1,200. Really great finish again. Got the VU meter. And here's the Bokeh, the new headphone from ZMF. Felt like an Atrium on a smaller scale, but it's also a fraction of the price. So, that's a welcome offering from ZMF. What's that, another Enlium? And look, just headphones everywhere. ZMF is great for that. They just have them laying out for you to test. Here's an HA3A from KN. Here's the KN solid state stack. Look at this. It's the KN HA2A. So I think it's $1,200, $1,300. So if you want to get a KN tube amp, they make really great tube amps. That's a solid entry point considering the price. Again, it was getting later in the day, so there were less people there by that point. And I have to talk again about the Deckware amp. I don't care how much money you have or what monster amp you have in your collection. This Deckware amp, you'll never not be satisfied with the sound it produces. It's just syrupy smooth while being very detailed. And it looks very unassuming to me, to be honest with you. But it just sounds so good. So I'll stop gushing over that. There's an Envy, gorgeous tube amp. Another DCS Lena stack just like last year. And look, even more headphones for you to test. I'm telling you, this headphone booth has it all. And yes, I couldn't just bypass an Envy without giving some glamour shots. It's too beautiful to not point out. All right, next booth, the DCS booth. Probably the best setup booth here because they had some extra soundproof paneling for each station. But this is for the high rollers. Look at this guy. He's wearing a suit coat. Wait a second. Wait. Let's go back. You see that? Oh, there's a Rossini, and no one's there at the station. So it's game time. What can I say about the Rossini? I didn't know much about it coming into it, but I had such an excellent experience here. I know a lot of people, they crave utmost detail. They want sharp edges on things. DCS, it reminds me of Chord because they're able to round things off. If you listen to live music, it's never super sharp. It's not that super crispness that a lot of people like. I was just listening to the New York Philharmonic live, a couple days before Canjam, and it's more about the sound stage and the space versus those super sharp details. And DCS nails it, along with a few other DACs. But this system just encompassed why this hobby can be so fun and so bankrupting. I think this system costs in the tens of thousands at least. I had my fun with that stack. Then we'll go on the opposite side of the exhibition show floor to the other private areas. But here's Bloom Audio. They're based in New Jersey, I think. And they had some IEMs and some other models there. Look at this fun Burson stack. More IEMs. You know, Bloom's a great shop. I just wish they had a tube amp there. Those are always fun showpieces. And right next to Bloom is Stax. Stax/Woo Audio. I think there were a lot of Woo Audio products there. Here are the Stax gear. And here's a WA33 Elite. WA23 from Woo. Let's go buy this. And here's what I wanted to talk about. I had my own little corner with the Woo Audio ES8 electrostat amplifier and the Stax 9000s. I was in audiophile heaven. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with this. Everything sounded lifelike. You know, electrostats are super quick, if not the quickest drivers you can get. But, you know, a lot of people give E-stats flack for not having enough bass or impact. The 9000s kind of switched that for me. They had an ample amount of bass. You're not getting 1266 levels of bass, but I was very happy with what I was hearing. So hats off to Stax, to Woo, and now this is on my radar of things to own. Okay, next door to that was the JPS Labs/Abyss, and look at this, yet another reel-to-reel system. They had it mated to both the WA33 Elite and the next best of show item, the Riviera AIC-10 solid state amp. This system sounded so good. Again, audiophile heaven. Some 1266s with the Riviera on a reel-to-reel system. It made you think, what was the best part of this chain? 1266s are legendary, as you know, and it just sounded amazing coming out of the Riviera. I've heard it out of other amps too, but I've heard other people who own the system say the Riviera has this tonal characteristic of raising the mids just ever so slightly, which matches perfectly with the slightly V-shaped 1266 TCs. I think it's just one of those wonderful combos where you just listen and you enjoy, and you're just grinning from ear to ear the entire time. So hats off to Abyss, to Riviera for creating that experience there. And for my next best of show, we have to go outside of the booth area and then go back to headphones.com and give it to the Felix Envy 25th anniversary edition. Holy crap. All of the things that you like in a tube amp, it exists in an Envy. The fullness, the richness, the body, while still giving you all of those details at the top, anywhere in between the spectrum. I love this experience here. I listened to it with a Susvara and also a Tungsten and an MP2, and I had an absolute blast. I didn't want to leave the table. I just wanted to stay and listen as much as I could before Canjam was over. And they're only making, I think, 25 of these amps. If you're one of the lucky few that has these, I'm jealous. You know, congratulations to you. So that was a great experience, and I'm glad headphones.com was able to bring this. Okay, I have one more best of show. Let's go to the head amp room. They have a huge array of items, and I think they also partner with DCA to showcase his headphones as well. But look, there's a Mjolnir 3. There's some cord and some amps and sound. And going back to my comments about the Stax 9000, here it is mated to a Grand Cayman. Gorgeous amp. I love my time with it. And also can't forget about Exonic from Headfi DIY fame. Thoroughly enjoyed my time with the Stax 9000 on both pieces of kit. And it's another one of those systems I could listen to all day, but it wasn't my best of show. Let's keep going for that. Here's a GSX Mini. I used to own that with a MK2. I love the MK2. I felt like it was a solid step up in timbre from the Mini. And look, here's a Tungsten again. Great combo. And now, are you ready? Here's my best of show for Canjam 2024. The head amp edition of the CFA3, Kevin Gilmore's famous design. This was mated to Susvara, and it sounded impeccable. Like everything that I've been gushing about up until this point exists on this setup to me. I had such an amazing time with it. And here's the best part. It starts at under $5,000, the head amp CFA3. Everything was super clear. It was rich. It was dynamic. It was impactful. And this was with a Susvara and a Tungsten. I did not want to leave this setup. But if you had any doubts if head amp could come through and produce a great CFA, of course they did. I can't wait to get my hands on one. Maybe I'll even upgrade to a Susvara at some point too. But we'll see how it sounds with my current headphones first. But that's it. Thanks for everyone for coming out, for watching as well. and also, of course, the Headfi team for putting Canjam together. I can't wait for the next one. But that's all for today. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you in the next video. So long.